It was supposed to be one night. Just one night under their roof, after years of swallowing pride and pretending the past didn't exist. But even a single night in that house felt like time rewinding to every humiliation I thought I'd buried. It had been raining for 2 days straight. My apartment's ceiling had collapsed from a pipe burst, and the landlord told me it'd take at least a week to fix. I had nowhere else to go. My daughter, Lily, 6 years old, was clutching her little stuffed cat as I parked outside my parents' house. She asked softly, "Will Grandma be nice this time?" I smiled, but it was the kind of smile that trembles. "Maybe, baby. Let's just stay quiet and polite, okay?" The porch light was still broken, flickering like a dying heartbeat. I knocked once, twice. Mom opened the door wearing her silk robe and that permanent half-smirk she reserved for me. "Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video." "Well, look who finally remembered where she came from," she said. Dad, sitting on the couch behind her, didn't even glance up from his phone. And my sister, Natalie, flawless as ever, in her cozy designer sweater, leaned against the stair railing like she was watching a sitcom. "You couldn't even afford a hotel, huh?" she snorted. "I just need a place for me and Lily for a few nights," I said, forcing calm. "The apartment's flooded." Mom's voice dripped sarcasm. "And you thought we were the Red Cross?" Before I could reply, Lily tugged my sleeve. "Grandma, can I say hi to Muffin?" she asked shyly, talking about Natalie's daughter. Mom gave her that fake pity look. "She's sleeping, dear. You wouldn't want to disturb real children when they're resting." Something inside me twisted hard, but I held back. Mom sighed dramatically. "Fine, you can stay, but don't expect special treatment." I exhaled a quiet, "Thank you," and she shot back, "Save it. Gratitude doesn't pay bills." They led us to the spare room, the one I used to share with Natalie when we were kids. But now it was Natalie's storage room. Boxes everywhere. Old furniture. Dust thick as memory. Mom looked at me, unimpressed. "You should be used to mess. After all, you've lived your life in one." Lily tried to smile. "It's okay, Mommy. I'll sleep on the floor." Before I could answer, Mom walked out and came back with something in her hand, a black garbage bag. She dropped it on the floor beside Lily's small blanket. "Here," she said coldly. "You can put your pillow in that. It'll keep it clean from the dirt." Dad chuckled from the hall. "At least she's finally where she belongs, close to the trash." And then they laughed. Lily froze. Her little face went still, like she didn't understand if it was a joke or punishment. My throat burned. I wanted to scream, to throw the bag back at them, but I couldn't move. Natalie passed by the door, holding her daughter, my niece, Chloe, wrapped in a soft pink blanket. She kissed her forehead gently. "Good night, my angel," she said loud enough for me to hear. Then, looking straight at me, she smirked. "Not everyone gets to raise blessings." Mom stood behind her, whispering, "Some kids just inherit curses." Their laughter echoed down the hallway like knives dragging on glass. That night, Lily curled up beside me on the dusty carpet. I covered her with my jacket. I could hear Chloe giggling upstairs, being tucked into bed with lullabies and warmth, while my child lay on the floor, next to a garbage bag. I stroked Lily's hair and whispered, "It's just one night, sweetheart." But deep down, I knew that wasn't true, because one night in this house always turned into scars that never healed. And as I stared into the darkness, something shifted in me, quiet but final. I realized this wasn't just about finding shelter. It was about seeing the truth one last time and deciding what to do with it. Lily whispered in her half-sleep, "Mommy, am I trash?" I froze. Tears filled my eyes, but I didn't let her see them. "No, baby. You're everything good they'll never understand." The rain outside grew heavier, slapping against the windows, and every drop felt like a countdown. I lay there awake the whole night, staring at that black bag. And by morning, I knew. This wasn't the night I came home. It was the night I started building the life they'd one day beg to enter. The next morning, sunlight leaked weakly through the curtains, turning the dust floating in the air into gold flecks. It would have looked beautiful anywhere else. But in that room, it just illuminated the ugliness we'd been forced to sleep in. I woke up stiff, my arm numb where Lily had been clutching me all night. She was still asleep, small fingers holding my jacket like it was armor. Her cheek rested against the carpet, red from the rough texture. The door creaked open and Mom's voice sliced through the silence. "Still lying around?" I thought mothers were supposed to set examples. I blinked, trying to find words that wouldn't get twisted against me. "It's only 7 a.m., I murmured. "She's tired." "She's spoiled," Mom replied flatly, stepping inside. "When we were young, we didn't sleep in. We earned our keep." Behind her, Natalie appeared, her hair wrapped in a towel, sipping coffee from one of Mom's fancy mugs, the kind I was never allowed to touch growing up. "She looks like she's been crying all night," Natalie said, eyeing me with fake concern. "Guess the floor's not soft enough for her standards," Mom sneered. Lily stirred, rubbing her eyes. "Good morning, Grandma." Mom didn't reply. She just looked down at her, then at me. "If you're staying here, you'll help clean up. The kitchen's a mess from last night. Natalie's husband's family might visit later, and we can't have the house looking like you live here." I wanted to tell her no, that I wasn't her maid, that I had a job. A real job that kept food on our table, even if it wasn't glamorous. But Lily's little hand found mine, and I swallowed my pride again. "Fine." As I walked toward the kitchen, I could hear Natalie talking loud enough for me to catch it. "You can take the girl to the backyard later. Chloe doesn't like noise while she studies." The girl? My daughter, as if she was a guest in her own bloodline. The kitchen sink was piled high. Grease, crumbs, broken plates from the night before. I rolled up my sleeves and started scrubbing while Lily sat quietly at the corner table drawing with dull crayons. Every so often she'd glance at me, like she was afraid I might disappear too. By noon, the house smelled of bleach and coffee. Dad finally came downstairs in his old robe, yawning like a king. "Well," he said, looking around. "At least the place doesn't look like a dump. Maybe she's finally being useful." Mom smirked and handed him his coffee. "Miracles happen, I guess." I ignored them. I kept wiping, kept moving, because if I stopped, I might break. Natalie came in holding Chloe, her daughter, a bubbly 7-year-old with curls and the same green eyes I had. She looked at me shyly. "Auntie, can Lily play?" Before I could answer, Natalie said sharply, "No, honey, not now. Lily's dirty from the floor. You don't want to get sick." Lily's eyes fell, and she turned away without a word. It was always the same script, humiliation delivered in small doses, just enough to remind me where I stood. That evening, I found Lily outside in the cold near the garden shed, sitting on a small plastic stool. "Why are you here, baby?" She looked up, her lips trembling. "Grandma said I can't play inside because I don't know how to behave like a real grandkid." My chest tightened so hard I had to crouch to breathe. "Come inside," I said, wrapping my arms around her. But before we could move, Mom's voice came from the doorway. "What do you think you're doing? The house is clean. Don't bring her dirt back in." Something in me snapped, not loudly, but enough for her to notice. "She's a child," I said, my voice shaking but steady. "She's not dirt." Mom laughed, low and cruel. "Maybe not, but she came from it." Dad appeared beside her, holding a beer. "Don't talk back in my house. You should be grateful we even let you in. You and that girl should have been left where you belong." Lily clung to my leg, burying her face, and for the first time I didn't look away. I stared right at him. "Where's that?" I asked. Dad smirked. "At the bottom, where you've always been." It was like the air froze between us. Mom smiled that wicked smile again. "You see, Natalie knows her place. She doesn't argue. She gives us respect." "You mean obedience," I said quietly. Her face hardened. "Call it what you want. She's successful. You're not." I wanted to scream, but Lily was shaking beside me, and I knew if I gave in, they'd use it as proof I was unstable. That's what they always wanted. Control. That night, I tucked Lily in on the carpet again. She whispered, "Mommy, why don't they like us?" I brushed her hair gently. "Because some people only love what makes them look good." She nodded sleepily. "Then We'll just be good to each other, right? Her innocence crushed me. Always, baby. When she fell asleep, I sat by the window, staring at that same garbage bag. And then I noticed something. It wasn't empty anymore. There were old toys, rags, and scraps stuffed inside it. Mom had dumped her trash in it right where Lily slept. That was it. No more crying, no more hoping they'd change. I got up quietly, opened the closet, and pulled out my duffel bag again, but this time I wasn't packing clothes. I was taking pictures, every cruel thing they'd left behind, every symbol of how little they cared. The ripped blanket, the garbage bag, the bruised words that hung in the air. By morning, I had a plan. They didn't know that while they laughed at me, I'd been working on something. For years, I'd been writing about family psychology and generational abuse for a small online publication. No one knew the articles were mine. I wrote under a pen name. My readers called me the healer. And now I was about to tell one more story. This one, mine. The next day, I told Mom and Dad we were leaving early. We found a place to stay, I said. Mom shrugged. Good. The house feels lighter without your pity act. Natalie didn't even look up from her phone. Don't forget your trash bag, she said, smirking. I smiled, for the first time in years. Don't worry, I said softly. It's staying right where it belongs. When I walked out with Lily's hand in mine, I didn't feel small anymore. I felt like someone walking out of a cage. They had no idea the next time they saw my face, it would be everywhere, but not as the broken daughter they mocked, because the truth, when it comes back home, never knocks. It breaks down the door. 2 weeks later, the storm I'd been quietly building finally arrived. Only this time, it wasn't thunder they heard. It was their own names echoing back at them. I had published the story anonymously, under the same title that burned in my head every night. The family that gave their grandchild a garbage bag to sleep in. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't slander. It was simply the truth. Word for word, the things they said, the things they did, the laughter that still rang in my daughter's ears. Within days, the article spread. My editor called me at midnight. It's viral, she whispered. People can't stop sharing it. Thousands of comments, support groups forming, donations for single mothers. Everyone's talking about it. I stared at the screen. Comments pouring in. People recognizing themselves in the words I'd written. Mothers, daughters, sons. They called me brave, but all I felt was peace. A week later, my sister Natalie showed up at my new apartment. She looked smaller somehow, like her perfect life had cracked. Mom's furious, she said, voice trembling. Dad hasn't left the house. People know, they're asking questions. Why would you do this to us? I met her eyes. I didn't do anything to you. I just stopped covering up what you did. She swallowed hard. They're embarrassed. Good, I said softly. Maybe embarrassment will teach them what empathy never could. She stared at me, then said quietly, You've changed. I finally started over, I replied. The next morning, I took Lily to the park. She ran through the grass, hair flying, laughter pure and unshaken. The sun touched her face like it was apologizing for every night she'd been made to sleep in darkness. She looked back at me, smiling. Mommy, can we stay here forever? I nodded. We already are. That night, before bed, she handed me a drawing, a little house with 2 stick figures holding hands. This one's just us, she said, because we're enough. And for the first time in my life, I believed it. Some people destroy you by making you believe you're nothing. Others build you by forcing you to start again. My parents had done both, but I was the one who finished the story. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.